brings me to a point that I was going to bring up later on. But you say the football and the town going places were linked. The attitude of the people changes when the football's working, doesn't it? Certainly up there.
Yeah, totally agree.
I want to ask you about the proposal of the Newcastle takeover, because obviously the Northeast is its own little world of football. But what do you think of what the Newcastle takeover will be like for the city of Newcastle, will be like for the Northeast, and just be like for that club?
First and foremost, I think, I think the football club does need to go in a different direction. I think Mike actually has taken that football club as far as he can. I think, rightly or wrongly, good or bad, however you want to look at the job he's done. He's a businessman and he's invested for the club, not as much as fans wanted him to do, but he's done what he wanted to do, and in his times now is done for me. And if this takeover takes place, I think they could be a force to be reckoned with. Their fans are absolutely crazy. The travelling numbers, the turn up, good, bad, ugly, in 52,000 week in, week out, and they're absolutely passionate. And the North East is just an amazing place to support, because Sunderland's strong, Middlesbrough's strong, Newcastle's strong, but I want everything in the North East to get back. I want Sunderland to get back in the Premier League via the Championship. I want Middlesbrough to push up, Newcastle to push up, and it'll just be great. And obviously Newcastle have got an opportunity here to catch the likes of Man City, because obviously it's going to be, if he does take over and it does end up going through, he's going to be the richest football owner around. So goals and money's going to be no object. And they've got a brilliant ground, brilliant training ground. Everything's in place in that football club for the club to go places, but they need it to get sealed, signed and delivered. They need all this to calm down, and then they need to structure in and bring in the right footballers. And if that's a new manager and Steve Bruce loses his job, I hope not, because I've played for Steve and I know how good he is. But with this kind of takeover, normally he brings in a world-class manager, and unfortunately then a couple of people end up losing their jobs. But I'm a Middlesbrough fan, but I still want the teams in the North East to be in the top league. I want derbies. I love the derby. I sample the derby as a player, as a fan, and I want that again, because it's it doesn't happen enough. And I need those kind of games back as a football fan.
Do you know what you may have noticed if you look in the background there, I'm a Newcastle fan myself. What the thing that gets me is, if this gets taken over pretty sharpish, the boys that are there already are going to raise their game, because they're going to want to keep their jobs. They're going to want pay rises. So that's one thing. The next round of the FA Cup, we've got Man City. Now, that's a very different game when you've got a billionaire owner, isn't it? Like in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, of course it is, And the thing is, though, money talks, and players, the players who are there will have to raise the game, because they know that, not that they're going to be unemployed, but they won't play games as much. And as a player, you need to play. You need to raise your profile. You need to play games. And if you're not playing, you end up moving clubs, probably to a lesser club. If you want to be part of the Newcastle journey, you've got to raise your performances and score more goals, keep more clean sheets, win more tackles, for example, as a midfielder. Newcastle will be an exciting time for a football fan, and a Newcastle fan, because we all know the excitement when Roman Abramovich took over at Chelsea. We all know the excitement when Man City owners took over, even Man United owners and Liverpool owners to a certain degree. That we want the best players to play in the Premier League, and I'm not bothered where they go, as long as they come to England, because Paris Saint-Germain, they took some world-class players. Italy have taken some world-class players. Spain have taken some world-class players. And instead of having them spread around, I want them where I can see them week in, week out, or go and see them live. And And if we can do that and attract more people, then so be it. That's the best place to be, because it'll make it even more competitive for me.
Absolutely, and everyone wins, don't they? Teams in the Champions League start to raise a bit of awareness, which brings it back home to not just the Premier League, but the lower leagues as well, doesn't it? That whole umbrella, there's a whole trickle down of it, isn't there? Yeah,
but I also see it as a national team as well, because if young English players are training with better world-class footballers, they're going to become better players. Yes, the game, the time on the pitch, their team might be limited a little bit, but they can go and get experience like that on loan, because they're going to become better players, because they're training every single day and every single minute of a training session with better footballers. So it can only have a positive impact. And I don't see many negatives of it. People say, foreigner this, foreigner that, but that's just the way that the Premier League's moved and gone on. And the best players, if we picked a Premier League 11, the majority of the players will be foreign players. So we can't have that as a plus, and then start slagging off Newcastle for getting an owner. You know what I mean? Because these football fans who are against Newcastle getting taken over, Man City fans, foreign owner, Chelsea fans foreign owner, Liverpool fans foreign owner, Man United fans foreign owners. So I don't see a negative in it, because it's only going to make the Premier League even more competitive and make the top 6 a top 8. You know what I mean? So it's going to make it even more interesting, because then Premier League places come up for grabs, and it can be one of 6, 7, and 8. So for me, it's only a good thing.
Well, if you're a neutral as well, you're seeing bigger games and more champions. It's not like the old days where it was either Man United or Arsenal were going to win it. It would be, I genuinely don't know who's going to win this.
Yeah, and every game, every live game on TV, if you're not fortunate enough to go to a game, there's world-class players on the pitch, instead of it being a bog standard Sunday game where you're thinking, oh, they could have had a different game on. But every game is going to be littered with better players, because it's, you know what I mean, it's also going to filter players down. So it's going to make it even better and even stronger. So I just don't see a negative in it. I want better players continue coming to the Premier League, because we're greedy, aren't we? Because we've been inundated with good footballers years gone by. You know what I mean? We've got that. You look at the Zolas, the Van Nistelrooys, the Patrick Vieiras, just to name a few, 3 different clubs, and even Newcastle with Ginola, Les Ferdinands, Philip Albert. You know what I mean? Newcastle want those times back, and you know what I mean? They had an unbelievable manager in King Kev, and you know what I mean? And down the road at Sunderland, they had Niall Quinn, Kevin Phillips. They want those times back. Middlesbrough, Ravanelli. You know what I mean? These are all world-class, probably foreign players. So, you know what I mean? That I would have no qualms in if Steve Gibson sold Middlesbrough to a foreign investor who ploughed money into it, because it was going to make the football club stronger and better. So I can't have that and then slag somebody else off for doing the same thing, because it's just
not at all. And it's not even a new thing, is it? Like in your time at Middlesbrough, we said Juninho, Emerson, Ravanelli coming in. And that was, you know, with the greatest respect in the world, that's 20 plus years back. Like, it's not a new mentality to have a foreign influence. And for yourself,